Welcome to this latest video from the ELT Research Garage. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm discussing one of my papers published in the BCTEAL Journal in 2017. You can download the paper here, or the link is below here, I should say. Educational theory has always fascinated me. And by the end of this video, you should have a better understanding of how I made sense of educational theory while conceptualizing a theoretical framework for my PhD proposal. So if you're a doctoral student or a graduate student, or perhaps even a supervisor, this talk may be of relevance and interest to you. To provide you with a bit of context, PhD students in education at Australian universities in general are required to design a research proposal that's about 20 pages in length, double-spaced pages in length. This proposal typically consists of introduction, lit review, research questions, methodology, and the theoretical framework, and a timeline and some expected findings. A substantial part of this proposal is the theoretical framework, and it's about 3 to 5 pages long. Having a strong theoretical framework is important because it identifies theoretical principles and philosophical assumptions that underpin the entire doctoral study. For me, one of the most difficult parts of putting the proposal together was just designing this theoretical framework and choosing an appropriate theory, formulating it, and then justifying its use. That was very challenging for me. After completing my PhD in 2016, I looked back and I decided to write up my thinking process and how I made sense of this educational theory jungle while designing the theoretical framework of my proposal. While designing the theoretical framework, I kept a diary to record my thoughts about theory, to facilitate my understanding of theory that could potentially underpin my doctoral research, and also to record some of the frustrations I experienced during the process of making sense of theory. I used this electronic diary in Word format as the data source for this paper. The entries were coded thematically and then eventually helped me draw up a framework that I'll show you in a couple of seconds here. What were the findings of my reflective study? My analysis confirmed what we already know. Learning is complex. As the figure here shows, the process of making sense of theory was circular in nature, with sociocultural theory forming the point of departure as well as the centerpiece to which I returned 3 times while designing my theoretical framework. The figure also shows that even though I revisited sociocultural theory 3 times, I explored various other theoretical constructs over a period of 7.5 weeks. So here, for example, sociocultural theory I started off with, then I went to second language teacher cognition, back to sociocultural theory, then identity, back to sociocultural theory, then cognitive load theory, activity theory, back to sociocultural theory. Then eventually I decided to go with activity theory to include that in my proposal. But after consultation with my supervisors and the proposal committee, we decided that activity theory is not suitable, and so we went with sociocultural theory. However, in the end, I ended up going with second language teacher cognition as sort of the underpinning theory. The paper goes into much more details about how my thinking developed over about a year. But choosing second language teacher cognition in the end as the main theory for my research is interesting because I considered this second language teacher cognition relatively early on in my journey of designing a theoretical framework. Yet it took a significant detour and explored several other constructs before eventually returning to second language teacher cognition. The data clearly showed that the development of my thinking about theory was a circular process. I mentioned that before. What the figure doesn't show, however, is that throughout this entire thinking process, at times I felt uncertain and sometimes confused about theories. Yet exploring different theories over a prolonged period of time was formative. It was a formative experience that allowed me to gain an in-depth understanding of a variety of theoretical constructs. I think this reflective piece or study highlighted that students' attempt to understand and make sense of theory is a lengthy and complicated process. Students and supervisors need to be patient when designing a theoretical framework, and students might want to consider forming study groups in which they discuss some of the readings, the theories, and ask questions. And supervisors, on the other hand, may want to set boundaries so students' exploration of theory doesn't spin out of control, which I think is quite important. I think it'd be interesting for someone to replicate this small-scale study. A doctoral student or a graduate student situated in a different context would possibly generate a different model. That would be quite interesting to see. All right, that's it. Once again, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Twitter. Thanks for watching.